What if the thing you call freedom was never freedom at all? What if the voice that says choose for yourself was planted inside you long before you were born? What if good and evil were not discovered by humanity but quietly redesigned? Before this story moves even one step forward, you must know something important. This is not history for strangers. This is not philosophy for outsiders. This is your own story. Because you are a child of Adam, this channel is not telling you about them. This channel is reminding you about yourself. So walk with me slowly. Stay with me. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The Bible tells us that the serpent did not force Eve. It questioned her. It suggested that knowledge itself was being withheld. It promised freedom through awareness. You will be like God, knowing good and evil. The Torah describes a similar moment. Not a denial of God, but a reframing of obedience. As if divine command was a barrier rather than protection. The Quran tells us something deeper. That Iblis did not reject God. He argued with God. He believed his own judgment was better. He believed choice was superior to submission. 3 revelations, 1 pattern, 1 lie. The lie was not disobedience. The lie was freedom. Before this moment, freedom had a meaning. Freedom meant harmony. Freedom meant alignment. Freedom meant peace within boundaries. Adam did not feel trapped. Eve did not feel limited. They did not wake up questioning divine wisdom. They lived inside it. Then Iblis spoke, not loudly, not violently, not with anger. He spoke with logic, with calm, with confidence. Why should someone else decide what is right for you? That sentence did not attack God directly. It attacked trust. Iblis did not say God is wrong. He suggested God is holding something back. You deserve more. You deserve choice. You deserve autonomy. And suddenly obedience sounded like weakness. Submission sounded like blindness. Trust sounded like ignorance. This was the moment everything changed. Evil did not appear as darkness. It appeared as enlightenment. Good was no longer obedience. Good became self-definition. Evil was no longer disobedience. Evil became restriction. Adam and Eve did not fall because they wanted pleasure. They fell because they were taught to doubt intention. What if God is limiting you? What if there is more? What if freedom lies beyond command? This was not rebellion. This was negotiation. And negotiation with divine truth is always the first step toward collapse. When Adam and Eve stepped out of alignment, something inside humanity broke. Not belief, but certainty. They still knew God, but now they trusted themselves more. This is the inheritance passed down to every generation. The belief that you know better. The feeling that guidance is optional. The illusion that choice equals freedom. Iblis did not need idols yet. He needed ideas. He did not need temples. He needed philosophies. He whispered again and again. Intention matters more than obedience. Feeling matters more than command. Sincerity can replace submission. And humanity listened. Slowly truth became flexible. Right and wrong became personal. Morality became emotional. People stopped asking what is commanded. They started asking what feels right. And this is where the prison was built. Not with chains, but with confidence. Because a person who believes he is free will never seek liberation. This is how good and evil were redefined. Good became whatever serves the self. Evil became whatever limits desire. And God was slowly pushed from center to concept. Not denied, but sidelined. Iblis did not want humans to stop believing. He wanted them to stop obeying. Because belief without obedience is harmless. It produces pride, not submission. Generations passed. Children of Adam built families, built communities, built identities, but inside them lived the same whisper. Decide for yourself. Trust yourself. Be free. They no longer asked, free from what? Free toward what? Freedom became escape, not purpose. And when freedom loses purpose, it becomes chaos. This is why evil today wears beautiful language. This is why rebellion feels heroic. This is why submission feels outdated. Because the original lie still lives. You are watching it. You are living inside it. And the most dangerous prison is the one that convinces you it does not exist. Pause here. Breathe. Let it sink. When the lie of freedom entered the human heart, it did not spread like fire. It spread like water. Quiet, patient, finding every crack. Children of Adam still spoke the name of Allah. Still remembered the garden. Still carried the pain of loss. But now something new lived inside them. A silent confidence in their own judgment. They no longer asked, what does Allah want? They asked, what do I want? This shift did not feel sinful. It felt mature. It felt intelligent. It felt human. Iblis understood something critical. If humans openly rejected Allah, they would fear consequences. So he offered something softer. Something safer. Something modern. Interpretation. He taught them to reinterpret divine guidance through desire. To explain commands instead of following them. To measure truth by comfort. And slowly obedience was reframed as simplicity. Submission was reframed as weakness. Certainty was reframed as blindness. Those who obeyed were called narrow. Those who questioned were called wise. Iblis never removed Allah from human life. He simply repositioned him. Allah was no longer the center. He became a reference. People said Allah exists, but they decided when he mattered. This is how internal authority replaced divine authority. People began creating moral systems without revelation. They used emotion. They used consensus. They used power. Good was what benefited the group. Evil was what threatened comfort. Justice became negotiable. Truth became contextual. And something terrifying happened. People started doing evil while believing they were good. This is the most advanced form of corruption. Not cruelty, but justification. The children of Adam began to teach their children. Trust your heart. Follow your path. Create your truth. These words sounded harmless, but they carried the original lie. Because the heart without guidance does not lead. It wanders. Without revelation, desire becomes direction. Iblis watched patiently. He saw communities forming. He saw leaders rising. He saw influence consolidating. He whispered again, you do not need God to build. You need unity. You need strength. You need vision. And humanity agreed. The first leaders were not tyrants. They were protectors. They promised safety. They promised order. They promised prosperity. But they demanded loyalty. And loyalty slowly replaced submission to Allah. This is how power was born without accountability. People obeyed kings, but debated commandments. They feared rulers, but negotiated with God. Iblis smiled. Because once humans accept human authority over divine authority, every injustice becomes possible. Oppression did not arrive screaming. It arrived wearing stability. People said, at least we are safe. At least we are strong. At least we are united. They traded truth for order. They traded guidance for comfort. And those who still obeyed Allah without compromise, those who refused to redefine good and evil, they became strange. They were labeled extreme, outdated, dangerous. The lie completed its next stage. Evil began calling itself progress. The more humans relied on themselves, the less they trusted revelation. They began saying, if Allah wanted this to be forbidden, He would have stopped us. If this was wrong, it would not feel right. Feeling replaced truth. Success replaced morality. And yet inside every heart there was still discomfort. Still emptiness. Still fear. Because the soul remembers alignment, even when the mind rejects it. This is why humanity became restless. Always building, always expanding, never satisfied. They were searching for the freedom they lost, but looking in the wrong direction. Iblis did not rush. He never rushes. He allowed humans to experience the consequences of their choices. He allowed injustice to grow. He allowed power to corrupt. Because pain accelerates dependence, soon people would need symbols. They would need figures. They would need visible authority. And this is where the age of civilizations would begin. But before stone idols, before temples, before empires, the greatest idol was already built. The human self. Pause again, because what comes next will not just explain history. It will expose the foundation of the world you live in. When the human self became the highest authority, the world changed shape. Not suddenly, not violently, but permanently. People no longer looked upward for meaning. They looked outward for structure, and inward for permission. This is the moment history accelerated. Communities turned into cities. Cities turned into civilizations. Not because humanity became wiser, but because it became organized without submission. In the lands between the rivers, Mesopotamia was rising. People built systems of law, trade, and hierarchy. They believed order itself was morality. If something strengthened the city, it was good. If it weakened power, it was evil. In Egypt, life revolved around continuity and control. The ruler was not just a king. He was truth itself. People did not ask if something was right. They asked if it maintained balance. In the Indus Valley, humans mastered structure and planning. But spirituality became ritual, not submission. Purity replaced obedience. Form replaced meaning. In ancient China, harmony was valued above truth. Social order mattered more than divine command. Heaven was an idea, not an authority. Across the world, different cultures rose, but they shared the same foundation. Morality came from stability, not revelation. Power decided good. Success decided truth. And Iblis watched. Because none of these civilizations rejected God outright, they redefined him. God became a force, a concept, a justification, not a commander. This is when idols appeared. Not because humans stopped believing, but because they needed control. An unseen God could command. A visible idol could be negotiated. Idols could be fed, moved, appeased. Truth could not. So humanity chose symbols over submission. Good became whatever the gods allowed. Evil became whatever disrupted the system. Sacrifice replaced obedience. Ritual replaced repentance. And still humans called this freedom. Freedom to worship as they wished. Freedom to define holiness. Freedom to decide limits. But the cost was invisible. Without divine authority, justice became selective. The strong were protected. The weak were sacrificed. Children of Adam built wonders, but lost wisdom. They built towers, but forgot purpose. This is why every civilization collapsed. Not because of enemies, but because the lie of freedom eats from inside. When humans decide good and evil, power always wins. And power always corrupts. Iblis did not need to destroy these civilizations. He let them destroy themselves. Because rebellion disguised as freedom cannot sustain life. And yet, even as societies fell, prophets were sent. Reminders were given. Truth was restored again and again. Because Allah never abandoned humanity. Humanity walked away. Every prophet carried the same message. Submission is not loss. It is protection. Freedom is not choosing everything. Freedom is choosing alignment. But the lie had gone deep. People asked prophets to compromise, to modernize, to adjust truth. They said, be flexible, be understanding, be practical. But truth does not bend. This is why prophets were rejected. Not because they were harsh, but because they removed the illusion of freedom. They reminded humanity that obedience is not slavery. It is clarity. And here we are today, surrounded by choice, drowning in options, calling confusion freedom, still repeating the oldest lie. Decide for yourself, define your truth, be your own guide, and still feeling empty. My brother, my sister, this story was never about Adam alone. It was always about you. You are still standing between command and desire, between submission and self. The lie of freedom is still whispering, and truth is still calling. This is not just history. This is a mirror. If this story shook something inside you, if it felt familiar, if it felt personal, that is because it is. This is your channel. This is your story. This is the journey of the children of Adam. Stay here. Walk forward. Learn where you came from so you can understand where you are going. Because the greatest freedom is not choosing everything, it is choosing truth.